It is with great pleasure that I welcome the High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, my dear friend Mrs. Federica Mogherini, to Cyprus. I would like to welcome also the European Commissioner on Humanitarian Aid and Crisis Management, my dear friend Christos Stylianides. Mrs. Mogherini had a very constructive meeting with the President of the Republic, who has briefed her on the negotiations on the Cyprus problem. There was an exchange of views on how to better calibrate the role of the European Union on certain outstanding issues. I would like to express my appreciation to Mrs. Mogherini's personal interest on Cyprus problem, personal interest on behalf of the European Union, and her commitment to support the process, and her presence here a few months after her previous visit attests to this interest. We will continue our meeting over lunch in order to discuss other issues, particularly of our neighborhood. One of them is Egypt, and we need to see the relations between the European Union and Egypt to enlarge on their full potential, because we consider that the strategic importance of stability in our region and beyond is paramount, and for this we value very much the role of Egypt. Ms. Mogherini, welcome once again. Thank you very much for your presence, and I hope that with the meetings today and the others that will follow, you will be able to have a good picture of what is going on and how your help will be effective.
Thank you. It's, for me, not only a pleasure, but I would say also a must to be here in this moment that we understand perfectly well is a crucial moment for negotiations. And it's only natural for us, together with Christos, to be here as the European Union and with our personal support for this important phase of the negotiations. You refer to the fact that I visited already Cyprus. Clearly a lot has been achieved since my last visit. Actually, we see that more progress has been achieved in the last months than ever before on negotiations. And we are here not only to exchange information and views, being briefed, and I'm thankful to Ioannis, to the President, for the insight in the negotiations, also to Espen Ide, that I met and with whom I am constantly in contact. I would like to thank him personally and the UN facilitating role. But most of all, it has been an occasion to discuss the EU support and our personal support. But we're not only individuals, we're representing institutions. How the European Union can accompany in an even more effective way this process as this process enters this crucial phase. This is a process that is led with a strong ownership of courageous leaders that are showing determination, vision, and a lot of attention to the people of Cyprus' future. Our role as European Union is to accompany the leaders and their determination in a way that can be beneficial for all Cypriots, to live in a united European Cyprus. So we discussed ways in which the European Union can better accompany these steps. Personally, we stand fully behind their efforts, their talks towards a settlement under the UN auspices, and we share the leaders' assessment that it would be feasible to overcome the remaining challenges that we know exist. We're very much encouraged by their determination to continue and intensify talks as the beginning of November in Switzerland, overcome these challenges and reach an agreement on a comprehensive settlement even by the end of this year. So the European Union, myself as personally, fully supporting, fully encouraging, fully accompanying this process with all our determination and with all the instruments and tools that the European Union can put at the disposal of the Cypriots, all of them. Finally, let me stress once again, this would be not only a turning point, an historic page for the island, this would be, as the Minister rightly pointed out, an extremely important step for the entire region. This is a particularly difficult region that needs hope and trust in diplomacy and political solutions as no other region in the world needs. And this is a direct interest of all Europeans and all our friends in this region, that is a European region, being in the center of the Mediterranean Sea, that diplomacy and determination and investment in political solutions can lead to positive news for the people. This would be a game changer for not only all Cypriots, not only the island, also the European Union, but also obviously for the entire Southeast Mediterranean and for the entire Middle East, I would say. So somehow it's a regional but even global responsibility to try and do this last mile in the most positive way. Thank you.
Couple of questions.
My question concerns the crucial issue of security after the settlement. And can you please elaborate on the EU's position on this issue? And if you could tell us in which concrete and effective ways can the EU safeguard security in Cyprus after a settlement and address the concerns raised mostly by Turkish Cypriots with regard to this issue? And another question, if the EU will be present in case of a multilateral conference.
First, the issue of security and guarantees is something we discussed today. It is still, as you know very well, an issue for the parties to discuss during the negotiations, so I will not elaborate publicly on this. Also because, as I stressed before, it is extremely important that the negotiations see the leaders taking decisions and finding solutions that can benefit the entire island. Obviously, the best guarantee for security in any country in the world is a well-functioning state, and particularly for any member state of the European Union is being a member state of the European Union itself. I would stop here for the moment. As you understand well, we are entering in a last crucial phase of negotiations, and I would never publicly comment on issues that are subject to negotiations by the parties.
Next question.
Yeah. Hello. I have mic problems often here. Something outside of Cyprus, a bit more international, regarding what we've heard in recent days about possible terrorist threats emerging from the Middle East as ISIS being pushed back or out of Mosul. Fears have been expressed of a flood of jihadists heading into Europe and creating more trouble, perhaps terrorist attacks. If you could just tell us very specifically, what is the EU doing to prevent that? Very specific, tangible ways the EU is engaged in preventing such threats from actually happening.
Commissioner can integrate for sure my answer. First of all, let me say that it would be quite short-sighted and even cynical to consider what is happening in Mosul, the liberation of areas both in Iraq but also in Syria that are seeing a strong Daesh presence only through the lens of the movement of terrorist fighters, in some cases foreign terrorist fighters, towards Europe. I do not think that a solution would be to keep them all where they are. Obviously, we all agree on the fact that the territories both in Iraq and Syria need to be first and foremost liberated from the presence of Daesh. So this is a security interest for the European Union and for the European Union citizens. Having said that, it is not directly linked to our portfolio on the external side, but on the internal side of the European Union work. As you know, there have been measures introduced to strengthen the control of the movement of people at our external borders, in particular on the control of the identity. And in general terms, in the last months and years, we have increased the work we do on two issues that are fundamental. One is the issue of financing of Daesh and terrorist activities in general, and the second one is obviously the control of foreign terrorist fighters, not only on their way back to Europe, but also on their way to Syria and Iraq. So this is work that our colleagues that are dealing with internal security are intensifying a lot in the last months, and this would obviously concern also potential movements from that part of the region, as well as it concerns also internal threats, because as you have noticed, most of the attacks that the European Union territory has experienced in the last year are actually coming from within. So the work has intensified on all fronts in this respect. It's mainly an internal work. What we're doing together, and I would like to thank Christos for an excellent work we're doing together, is working on the liberated areas. Mosul will be obviously a priority for us to make sure that people can return in their houses and in their communities as soon as possible in the most secure way. And this is itself part of destabilization and on the prevention of further spread of terrorist activities, investing in people's lives and well-being. And this is a work for which I would like to commend Commissioner Stylianides for an excellent work he's doing.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. We said a couple of... Huh? Okay, let's have the third question, if you have agreed among yourselves.
Sorry for the wait. One more question. Linda Biassi from Agence France Presse, AFP. It's also a more international question. Mrs. Mogherini, it's about the CETA deal between EU and Canada. Would the EU agree to a summit in Ottawa after the summit in Brussels fell through today?
Don't comment on that. It's, you know, it's so important what is happening here. I'm ready to answer always to all questions. But indeed, I would like you to focus on the historical relevance of what we're discussing here today and what's happening in this part of the European Union. So first, I would not comment on that in this moment anyway, even if we were in Brussels, but especially here, because I think it is only fair to Cyprus and the leaderships here to focus our message today on all our support to this last very important phase of the talks.
Okay, thank you very much.